All right, guys, we are back. Another MLB podcast here. Uh, Welcome, and we'll start out off with Rob since he's not the World Series champion,
What up?
and Jonathan. Tell us.
What a week, what a week, what a week, Alex. Feels damn good to be a champion again. It's been a whole 18 months since the last parade in Boston, so that was a rough drought to get through. But we're back on top from start to finish, and you can even go all the way to spring training. The Red Sox had the best record regular season, run right through to a record-setting 108-win season. And then you get to the playoffs, dispatch a 100-win Yankee team, 100-win Astro team, and the back-to-back NL champ Dodgers. So the Red Sox ran the gamut from start to finish and proclaimed themselves as one of the best teams in team history.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. I was rooting for the Dodgers for obvious reasons, but I think that's what we're gonna get started is with the Fall Classic. So, John, 5 games, you only lost 1. So, tell me, out of all those games, what was your favorite part? Was it the Pierce homers, the Pierce bases clearing double? Was it the Benintendi catch in left field? Was it the Chris Sale? What was wrong with him? Questions. Was it Manny Machado looking like a dummy? Striking out on the last pitch of the game. I mean, tell us, what was your favorite part?
Well, if we're just looking at the World Series, I know this won't get a lot of attention because the game actually was a loss, but I look at Nathan Eovaldi's performance in extra innings of Game 3 to go damn near 8, he went 7 innings, gives up only 5 hits, and was absolutely lights out and gave the Red Sox multiple chances to go ahead and close this game out, but unfortunately the Dodgers pulled out in 18 innings. So that kind of spoke to me about the resiliency of this team. When you look at the World Series, it wasn't JD or Mookie that was doing a lot of the damage, no pun intended. It was the role players. It was other guys stepping up on a big stage that you normally wouldn't hear from. So having a World Series MVP as Steve Pearce, a journeyman of sorts, kind of speaks volumes to how this Red Sox team was able to win so many games this year. It was guys consistently stepping up and just coming through in clutch moments. And then you look at the 2-out hitting in this World Series, as well as the playoffs. There was some crazy stat. I think the Red Sox drove in something close to like 12 to 15 RBIs with 2 outs alone in the playoffs. So it just speaks to how crazy playoff baseball can be, is that it is a random crapshoot at times, but when you can get clutch, timely hitting, it can be the difference between winning and losing a series. And, the Red Sox came through when it mattered, and goddamn, it was a great watch, and couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I think for me it was the David Price redemption. Just the fact that he kind of shut everyone up. I've never, despite thinking about all the things that David Price has done in the playoffs wrong, and this really the tumultuous season he had. I mean, Red Sox fan at some point were kind of turning on him and telling him, like, you're not worth your salt. You're not worth the money that we're paying you. And I think he just shut everyone up in the playoffs and kind of said, you know what, this is me. So I'm happy for him. I think a second. Pierce was awesome. Pierce has played for every single American League East team.
And how many of those teams has he won a championship with?
None. Well, now 1. So so it's a good story. And Pierce is he's the little guy, really, and that's the awesome thing. I still cannot believe all the hilarious memes that the Dodgers are the butt of right now, like Manny Machado just looking like a K when he struck out on the last play of the game, and then also just it was fantastic. But goes to show the Dodgers fans are still nuts. They stabbed a Red Sox fan 5 times after Game 5. So, Dodgers fans out there, chill.
Are you guys, like, let's be honest, it was probably the least shocking thing of all this. They are, and I'm going to make this a side tangent, LA as a sports city, just, if it's not the Lakers, I don't think they really care as much as they proclaim. I mean, that Dodger Stadium was 50% Red Sox fans. The Coliseum on Sunday when it was Rams-Packers was over 50% Packer fans. It's such a fair weather city in the sense that people, kind of gravitate however they feel or, what's kind of popular at the time. Don't get me wrong. They have their diehards. There are people who follow the teams, all passion and whatnot, but not a good look for Los Angeles.
Yeah, and to lose back-to-back World Series is tough for them, but they kind of knew that this was this might happen, and now they've got some decisions to make, and even though we're not probably going to talk about them too much, Seager's going to come back and fit right in there, but cool. So yeah, that was the World Series. Congratulations to Titletown. I guess you guys can officially have that title. It's just nuts, but still, as Jonathan, as my friend and my brother, I congratulate him. I tip my hat, and let's go Yankees. That's my motto going into 2019. So on that note, we're gonna talk. We're gonna put on our GM caps real quick, and talk a little bit about what our team should be doing in order to, be successful in the 2019 season. Not like they have to do anything nuts, but Rob, where do you want to start at? Because you're the mastermind here.
Let's start with the Yankees. Why not?
Oh.
Let's go ahead and start with the Yankees. There is a Yankee fan in the room, Alex Roundcal. So I have a lot of ideas of what the Yankees should be doing. First off,
before you even get started, I want to ask you this: what's more important to fix, the pitching or the timely hitting?
I'm gonna go ahead and fix all of that for you.
Okay.
So, all right. First things first. All right. First things first. You hit speed dial number 2. It rings, right? Speed dial number 2, and you go ahead and the guy that picks up the phone is Mr. Number 2 himself, Derek Jeter. You go down to Miami and you go, hey DJ, Real Muto, send him on over. Derek Jeter's gonna be like, well, he's already on his way. So send whoever you want back, and we'll make it look good for the league. And JT Real Muto now is a Yankee. JT Real Muto is a Yankee. Gary Sanchez and all the pass balls do not happen anymore. You finally got yourself a catcher. Gary Sanchez, he can still catch a little bit, 25 games a year, which amounts to about once every 2 weeks. I think Yankee fans can live with that, once every 2 weeks. And then DH him about 100 times a year, play him at first base 25 times a year. Now we're on to the big move. All right, Giancarlo Stanton, was he great as a Yankee? Half and half, glass half full, glass half empty. 38 home runs, 100 RBIs, hit 268. Good numbers. Okay, sure. Struck out a ton. A lot of hate from the Boston fans. A lot of hate from the Boston fans going after Giancarlo Stanton. So we ship him out. We ship Stanton out. He goes to the Angels. The Angels need a new stadium. They need somebody to go with Trout. They need star power. They have to win games. They go out and they make the biggest splash they can. They go out and they get Giancarlo Stanton in trade. Who the Yankees get back is Zach Cozart. Zach Cozart can play third. Zach Cozart can play short. Zach Cozart can play second. When Didi comes back, Cozart's going to platoon at all 3 positions. As of right now, he's going to start at short. Now, this trade is not just between the Angels and the Yankees. It's a 3-team trade. And Paul Goldschmidt comes back. to the Yankees to play first. The Yankees and the Angels send back prospects to the Diamondbacks. Paul Goldschmidt, Zach Cozart ends up at first and shortstop for the Yankees. JT Realmuto is now your catcher. Stanton's in LA, Anaheim, somewhere in California, wherever the Angels call home nowadays. Then after you guys trade away that Stanton money, that frees you guys up to go out into the free agent market and sign Dallas Keuchel and Patrick Corbin. Done.
I'm a I'm I don't even hate this. I really don't. Like I don't hate it in the least. I mean, I thought G was a one and done player. I really don't understand why he should be here longer than a year. Too much money on the books. I mean, he's what, like 23, 27 million?
I think he has like 10 years, 250 left on his books or something like that.
Yeah, and he's 28, so we're going to be paying him until he's 38. But he can opt out, I think, in a couple of seasons or something like that. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, I like the moves, but so with the guys that are still, that are on the team at the moment, let's talk about that. So the pending free agents we have are Didi Gregorius, Neil Walker, Danny Echeverria, CC Sabathia, David Robertson, and Zach Britton.
Yeah.
So Zach Britton walks, I think. Robertson resigns. CC signs again at a couple million less than what he was making now. And this is his last hurrah. This is really his last chance for romance. And then I think we sign Echeverria as a depth guy and sign Neil Walker as depth people. And that's me thinking more along the lines of Brian Cashman. I like your moves, Rob, but I don't know if Brian Cashman. I mean, he may have the cojones to just call DJ and be like, "Yo, send me Real Muto and screw everything else. Like, we'll figure it out after."
At this point, Jeter might call Cashman and tell him that Real Muto's on his way. Like, all right. All right, Brian, check it out. I'm about to finish up the order. We're going to go ahead and get Real Muto a one-way ticket. I'm going to send you the invoice. Just pay me back for the ticket. Send me a minor league prospect with a hard-to-pronounce name, and we're good to go.
I mean, I don't hate the idea. So, so kind of along your thinking, this is the lineup. So in left field, you've got Brett Gardner, who just resigned yesterday. Center, you've got Hicks, Judge on right. First field, you've got Goldschmidt. Second is Glaber, Cozart, and then third is still Miggy.
Yep.
Okay. Now
with Real Muto at catcher.
Yeah, and Real Muto at catcher. I like the Keuchel and the Corbin signing. Corbin more than Keuchel, but at the same time, I like both of them. I think that's really the biggest thing that the Yankees need to address here is pitching. They go out, and I think they also need to resign Jay Happ. That's another thing. They let Lance Lynn walk. Cool. See you later, Lance. I think those two are so I mean, under your circumstances, it's Corbin, Keuchel, Happ, Tanaka, Severino. That's your five guys.
That's a solid five.
That's a solid five. Sabathia probably comes out of the pen, maybe like as a long reliever and like a sixth inning role, something like that. Or if someone goes down, of course. I mean, that also happens. And then so that's okay. That's okay with me. I like that. I like that plan. But I think another thing we need to address is timely hitting. So John, I'm sure you can probably attest to this. Watching Yankees Red Sox games, all our runs was on home runs. Like we'd have bases loaded and no one could hit a little blooper over the third baseman that could score two. So Cozart, I think, fixes that. I think Goldschmidt doesn't, but that's okay. And I think we all know that Gary Sanchez isn't going to repeat as a 186 hitter.
And I think him not catching as many games as he caught, able to save his legs, able to not to really have to worry about pass balls, defensive mistakes, not really have to worry about too much, and just focus on hitting and DH. And I think that'll help him. I don't think he's going to be what he was in his rookie season. I think teams have learned how to adjust and how to attack him. And it showed. He struggled mightily. Now, do I still think he has 40 home run power? Yes, I absolutely do. Paul Goldschmidt in Yankee Stadium, he is 100% going to hit like 330 and 40 home runs. Like Judge, we know what Judge, as long as he's healthy, he's going to hit 40 home runs. The power is still there. And in my fantasy world, I just really did it to attack the positions of need. What I think the Yankees really need is more starting pitching depth, like a couple more number 2, number 3 guys. That's Corbin and Keuchel. Get a first baseman and a catcher, and get somebody to kind of bide the time before Didi comes back. And that's what all of my moves are really aimed after: starting pitching, first base, catcher. I think those are the 3 problem areas. Maybe bullpen if everybody ends up leaving.
So that's one more. That's one final question. Since he was on your team, the closer role. What we've seen out of Chapman the last couple of years has been borderline atrocious. So, do you think that's something the Yankees need to address with him?
I think he's still a good closer. I just don't think he's the 100% unhittable guy that he was in his early to mid 20s. He's not going to pull up a Mariano like 1.05 ERA or something crazy like that. He's not going to be that. His arm is still going to decline. You're not going to throw 100 miles per hour for 15 years straight. It's just not going to happen. He has a good slider. I've seen him rely on his slider before because Joe Madden, decided to run him a little bit too long and he was running out of gas. So he's got a good slider. I would like to see him lay off the heat a little bit, use his slider a little bit more, and combine that with the fastball. And I think he can transform himself and probably add a couple of years to the end of his career. Instead of throwing 100, he can throw 97. It's not too bad throwing 97. You're still a fireballer. Dylan Betances had a really good year last season, better than 2 seasons ago when he walked everybody, had the walk weight under control. Now it's just, can you fix Conley? Chad Green, is he still going to be a option in the bullpen? What's going on with Chad Green? And then it's just Robertson and Britton may or may not be back. Britton, I think he gets too expensive. Now, what the Yankees could do is, if they have confidence in Britton returning to be a 100% closer, they could play Britton and have a Britton and a Chapman, kind of a platoon role. Not really platoon, but as in like not have Chapman go 2 days in a row, or not have Britton go 2 days in a row, and make sure they get proper rest and proper time to heal their arms.
Yeah, that's a good plan. I agree with you there. We'll see how it shapes up, but yeah.
John, any thoughts? Well, what should the Yankees do?
For him, die in a fire, but that's just me.
Well, not so much die in a fire. Maybe if everyone just catches pneumonia and just becomes decrepit, I'm not going to be mad at that. But no, really, the Yankees, I don't think they need to do too much in that sense. I know, Rob, you have a great plan to kind of retool the empire and kind of get them back in a position to win a World Series again. But this is still a 100-win team from last year. And if Aaron Judge doesn't go down towards the end, I think they take the Red Sox right up until that last weekend series. So I still think the Yankees are in a good enough position to win a World Series. And if we're being honest, the Red Sox aren't going to replicate the season they just had. You don't think it's going to happen. Like, to win that many games, like, you need some breaks to fall your way, and to have happen 2 years in a row, I just see it very unlikely. But for a Yankee standpoint, I think you have the necessary pieces already in place. You don't necessarily need to mortgage yourself for the short term and kind of ruin your long term in the process, but they can go about this either way, and I still think they'll be fine. So the sky's not falling in the Bronx quite yet. But for the meantime, I will continue to dance on the Yankees' 2018 grave.
So speaking of the Red Sox, how many people on the Red Sox would you actually say had a career year?
Well, JD Martinez being one.
But JD, everything that he did this year was just a continuation of what he did in Arizona last year. Like, I don't think he really had a career year. Just he had a full year.
Well, and that was what I think he was a beneficiary of, hitting in an American League ballpark, being more of a full-time DH, along the line of saving his legs and whatnot. But you also saw Mookie Betts return to his 2016 form, to where, he was an absolute terror on the plate and at the field. So he stepped his game up. You look at Benintendi, he's going to continue to get better. If Bradley can figure out how to consistently hit, he's going to be a mainstay in the lineup. Devers is only going to continue to improve. Bogarts actually had his best hitting season to date yet, posting career highs in RBIs, home runs, and in slugging. So everyone on the Red Sox right now is kind of hitting their stride of, how they've been able to be raised up through the system here. Now it does pay off with the World Championship. Now it's a matter of how do you manage this roster to kind of stay together, continue to bring in the necessary pieces to help the nucleus out and make another run for it.
Which is kind of my point. Xander Bogaerts is the only one that really had a career year. Now, Mookie, we've seen the MVP Mookie from a couple of years ago where he finished second to Trout. He's going to win it this year. So that's yes, Mookie had a career year, but he's not at a level to where he hasn't been at before. Benintendi pretty much had the same year, just a little bit more time. Like Devers, like it's nobody really had a career year other than Bogart. So I feel like, yes, we probably don't see 108 wins from Boston, but they're gonna at least challenge 100 wins.
And they're still going to be in the thick of things, because if you bring back this nucleus, that's still a 95 win team, I think, at worst.
Yeah. So then what do you look to add in the offseason if you're Boston?
I still think they need to focus on retaining some of the contributors that came off the bench. So I'd mentioned to Alex, having Pearson Moreland kind of like rotate in and out of first base helped him out to get a more balanced lineup and actually having a consistent glove presence there. I would also say you're probably going to lose Cade Kimbrell, so you want to make sure you lock down that back end of the bullpen that did receive its fair share of criticism, throughout the season and going to the playoffs with how shaky it was. But at the same time, you saw Joe Kelly step his game up in the World Series as well. So I don't know if that's going to give Red Sox management the idea that they can move forward with Kelly as a full-time closer. But that's, I think, the biggest area to address. I would also like to see them bring back Eovaldi, pitches lights out in the World Series for his extra innings appearance. He was a horse for them in the second half of the season and a great pickup at the trade deadline. So I think management should also open up the checkbook a little bit, bring back Eovaldi, pay him a good market price. Maybe if you want to throw him a little extra for what he was able to give you to kind of help stabilize a pitching staff that didn't have Chris Sale down the stretch. So you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure you don't ruin what you already have, but continue to make it better. So I think the Red Sox are in a good enough position to run this thing back. Is
there a guy out there that you want that wasn't on the Red Sox last year, like an actual free agent signing, not a re-signing?
Don't get me wrong, there's big names out there, but I don't think there's anyone that this team necessarily needs. I think they're pretty solid all across the diamond right now. And like I said, extra bullpen help wouldn't be a bad thing. So if we said, Zach Britton would fetch a high price tag, I would think the Red Sox at least, make a phone call or two and see how much he's asking for.
If you had a choice between Britton and Kimbrel, who would you take? Money's not an objection.
If I'm not being objective right now, I'm looking at Britton, because just from what I saw from Kimbrel down the stretch and into the playoffs, it almost looked like he was afraid to throw his fastball at times, and then he just lost his command, and it was a little stressful. Like, this guy was supposed to be our lights out closer, and he had a roller coaster 2018, and yes, he was able to help the team get to the World Series and eventually win it, but it didn't come without its fair share of raised eyebrows. So like I said, make some calls to help your back end and fortify your bullpen.
Some names that I'm going to throw out there for the Red Sox to think about adding to that bullpen: Adam Ottavino, 30, a little bit older, but maybe able to get a little bit cheaper of a discount on him. We saw what Sergio Romo did down in Tampa; might be a good fit there. And other than that, Jeremy Blevins, Ryan Madsen. I know he had an implosion there, but come on, John.
Ryan Madsen probably doesn't deserve to be. Look, okay, I'm not gonna call for Ryan Madsen's job, but Ryan Madsen, you need to work on some things.
Ryan Madsen had one job the entire World Series, and he blew it every chance. He inherited 7 runners, all 7 scored.
And Juris Familia is going to be a free agent now. So that may be. I mean, he's going to get picked up. I don't know.
I would like to see them re-sign Kimbrel and probably add to the bullpen. I think Joe Kelly's also a free agent, so bringing back Joe Kelly, getting yourself, a reliever, an extra reliever, bringing back Kimbrel, that's probably all that team really needs, other than retaining, all their free agents.
Perfect. All right, so Rob, take the floor, buddy. It's your team's moment.
Yeah, so the Cubs need to throw the kitchen sink at the kitchen, and they just moves. I need big moves. It's been a rough year if you're a Cubs fan. There's a lot of things just didn't happen. Like, 2016 was a magical year. 2017, it was a down year during the season, but the Cubs showed a lot of fight, got to the playoffs, got to the NLCS, and you're like, okay, we're gonna build on that and add people. We still got depth. There's 11 people for 8 spots in the outfield, not including the pitcher. And I think now is the time to cull the herd and to get rid of kind of that depth and kind of go with a set lineup. I know that there's a lot of rumblings in Chicago to where players didn't like that. Some days they were hitting second, some days they were hitting fifth, some days they were leading off, some days they were hitting ninth. I know a lot of players didn't like to see guy go 3 for 5, but then the next day they're not in the lineup because it's a tough lefty on the matchup and he's a lefty and he's not in the lineup. There's a lot of things that the Cubs need to solidify. And oh man, I went big. I went big with the moves that I want to see the Cubs do. So the first thing I want to see is Chris Bryant move to left field. Chris Bryant to left field, Hayward to right, or Hayward from right to center, and Bryce Harper to right. That's the outfield alignment. Then I Donaldson for a 2-year, $25 million deal, opt out after the first year. Player opt out after the first year. So the first year, Donaldson, I would say probably $15 million. $15 million for the first year, guaranteed. Second year, $10 million player option. If he has a good year, he opts out. He gets himself a bigger contract. If he doesn't have a good year and those injury issues, keep on consisting with him, he opts in, gets another $10 million. Have another shot at trying to redeem himself and get himself healthy. And that I think that's all really Donaldson's going to see this offseason. He's going to see a lot of short-term prove-it deals. I have Donaldson at third. Javi Baez is now your starting shortstop, full-time, 100%. Second base is going to be a platoon of Ben Zobrist and Ian Happ and David Bodie. David Bodie's going to play third. David Bodie's going to play short. He's going to play second. Ian Happ's going to play left, right, and second, a little bit of second. That's his natural position, second base, and he hasn't played it in about a year. Zobrist is back on track to being what Ben Zobrist is, but that's because he got a lot of rest. So I don't think he should be playing every game. He's 38 now, final year of his contract. So Ben Zobrist, 2, maybe 3 out of the 4 games a week he plays, make sure he's rested up, make sure he's ready to go. Rizzo at first, Wilson Contreras at center. Albert Almora is the platoon guy in center. Tough lefties on the mound. Hayward sits. Almora's in center field. Almora can play left, center, or right. You can put Almora in center. You put Hayward in right. Put Harper in left field if you need to. There's still depth there. There's still a lot of guys that can play. Madden can still tinker and put a ton of people elsewhere. and whatnot. And then the big trade of the offseason, I have Kyle Schwarber, I have Addison Russell, I have Victor Caratini, and I have the 2 years controlled cost of Jose Quintana going to the Mets for Jacob deGrom.
Bum bum.
That's the big hammer is they either send that package for Jacob deGrom or they send that package for Matt Scherzer. I just went with Jacob deGrom just because the Mets are worse than the Nationals, and the Nationals might actually want to compete and hold on to Scherzer. And then I have the Cubs also signing Andrew Miller in free agency.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like it. I like the moves. I think they're good moves. It'll be interesting to see if what happens. I think one thing I like the most is, getting Andrew Miller, because I feel like that's a solid piece to have in your bullpen. But I mean, hey, I'm okay with this.
So that's your fantasy scenarios. Realistically, you need to add another bullpen piece. Morrow missed the last 2 months of the season. He hasn't shown that he's been healthy other than the 1 year with LA. Pedro Strop earned the closer role, was good. Then he got hurt. So you go Strop, you go Morrow, you go Andrew Miller, or anybody else, just another bullpen option that can close, whether that be a Zach Britton or somebody like that. He's got to be a lefty. They need to shut down lefty. That's Andrew Miller, Zach Britton. One of those guys fit the bill. You don't have Morrow go 2 days in a row. You go ahead and, have alternate closers, and then CJ Edwards, Steve Cishek, Jesse Chavez. You don't put those guys in the 7th, 8th inning role that they need, the high leverage situations. You let them pitch the 6th and the 7th. You let them get their innings. You let them, not really have high pressure situations. And I think they'll succeed. I think what got the Cubs in trouble last year was they lost their depth, and Cishek had to move up in a role, and Jesse Chavez had to move up in a role. Chavez was great, and he's probably going to be back. And Carl Edwards Jr. is filthy stuff wise, but he just has control issues. So having him step down a little bit and pitch less high leverage situations, I think it'll help with them.
I agree. I think I think this season for the Cubs was a fluke. I really do. I think they're going to be back next year and be serious contenders. So I don't know. That's. But then again, I always think the Cubs are serious contenders. So good. So guys, I think that's going to be it for Be a GM mode. We'll probably be back soon with more Be a GM mode, but
maybe some more realistic ones.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's always fun to take it to an extreme. John, congratulations again. And I think that's going to be it for us. So guys, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. Find us. We're all over the place. So my personal Twitter is RonCal33 BPP. Rob?
Rob_BPP.
John?
At Jonathan_R.
There you go. So tweet at him bad things or good things about the Red Sox.
Preferably bad things. Lots and lots of bad things.
Yep, preferably bad things. So
and make sure you at me so I can see it all.
And me, please do. Great. So guys, we'll talk to you guys again soon. And you guys all have a fantastic time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be back soon. See you guys.
Peace.